right, what's going on, guys? Miles here, PPC Mastery, and welcome back to the PPC Mastery Podcast. Today is going to be a solo episode with me, and I'm going to be answering a question that I got from Bernt Muurling. But before I do that, in the upcoming solo episodes of mine, I'm going to be doing one solo episode per week, and also one together with Bob, and Bob is going to do another solo episode by himself as well. In my solo episodes, I want to take the time to answer some of your questions. So if you have a question for me, then you can submit it at go to ppcmastery.com/podcast. And this is where you can answer or ask your question, which I will try to answer during one of the upcoming podcast episodes. So ppcmastery.com/podcast. And without further ado, the question for today is from Bernt Muurling in our Discord community. And some of you might know him from LinkedIn. He asked, what do you want to achieve? What goals are you working towards? And I asked him a little bit of context for this question. And he said, I'm curious what your goal is and what you're working towards, what motivates you, and what is currently the goal you're trying to achieve, both in life and in business. For myself, it's pretty clear, but I'm curious what your goals and steps are to get there and what you eventually want to achieve. So thanks for this great question. And I love talking about these things. So without further ado, let me just talk about my goals. So the ultimate goal that I have in my life and in business is just freedom. But freedom is a bit of a vague word. So let me just go and define what it means to be free for me. I want to have financial freedom. I want to have time freedom, and I want to have travel freedom. So financial freedom means that doesn't mean that I need to have like a really high amount of money, like 10 million. Some people go ahead and say, okay, if I have 10 million, then I'm free. That's not the case for me. I just want to be able to provide for myself, have a living for myself and my family. And I want that to grow in the upcoming years as well, of course. Then there's time freedom. And with time freedom, I basically mean to have an empty calendar, or as empty as possible. And I just want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whomever I want, without any obligations to anyone whatsoever. That's sort of the end goal. Now, I know that I do have obligations. I have obligations to my clients. I have obligations to Bob when I'm just talking about business, because in my personal life, I have obligations as well. And of course, like those things are fine. I'm planning in meetings and everything that I need to achieve the goals that we set on a business level with both my clients and with PPC Mastery. But apart from that, I want to have an as empty calendar as possible, and that because that gives me freedom to determine how I spend my day. So if I have an off day, then I might just take a day off and play some FIFA or go outside or whatever it is. And if I'm having a great day, I might as well just go and work 10, 12 hours. It really depends. But the key word here is freedom, because I can decide for myself what I want to do. And that's why I not necessarily want to grow a super big business in terms of people. We don't have any staff right now. It's just Bob and myself. And I love it that way because it gives us the ultimate freedom in our personal lives. And then the last one is, so I have financial freedom, time freedom, and travel freedom. And with travel freedom, I mean that I want to be able to work abroad whenever I can. So I worked at an agency for 2.5 years. So let me just take a step back of how this all came about. Actually, I'm going to take it one step further back. When I was young, in my childhood, I didn't know what I wanted to become when I grew up. I definitely didn't think that I would be doing what I'm doing right now with PPC Mastery, working in Google Ads, online marketing, etc. That was never a path that I thought was even possible. But the only thing that I knew is that I wasn't a fit for regular full-time jobs. And I'm not trying to bash anyone that's working at a job. All the power to you. I just know that it's not something for me. However, I didn't know what the alternative was going to be for me. So I went through college. And throughout this period, I always knew that I want to be free. I want to do whatever I can, whatever I want, with whomever I want, blah, 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 blah. And then I graduated from college, where I met my girlfriend as well. And when we graduated, my in-laws, so my girlfriend's parents, they gave me a gift card for a bookstore. So I wasn't a big reader back then, but I was just getting into personal development and all those things. And that's when I used that gift card, I think it was like 25 euros, to pick up The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And that book was a complete eye-opener to me, because not necessarily like the idea of working 4 hours and working on the beach, because that's definitely not what he is claiming with his book. Like the title is really fancy, like 4-Hour Workweek. That's a big, little bit controversial, and it's a powerful statement to at least get your attention. But the 4-Hour Workweek is basically a life built by design. And that idea like really stuck with me, and that you can actually take initiative to build the life that you want. And we went abroad, my girlfriend and I, we went to Southeast Asia after we graduated, just to travel a bit, see the world. And my father, he gave me a gift, and it was the book Designing Your Life. So my dad is actually also pretty big into building himself up, constantly learning. I definitely have some character traits from him in that regard. And he gave me this book called Designing Your Life. And I went through that book. I did all the exercises in the book, and that book really helped me to think about, what do I actually want? Now, even back then, I didn't know exactly that I was going to end up where I am right now, but I did know that, okay, I want to be intentional about how I build my life. So my girlfriend is actually completely the same in that regard. So we were also always talking about these things, like how do we want to live life, and what kind of lifestyle do we want to live, and what's important to us, all those things. And then when we came back, I moved to Amsterdam. I didn't live together with my girlfriend back then. Now we do. So I moved to Amsterdam. My girlfriend came to Amsterdam a couple months later. And I still didn't know what I was going to do with my life. So was graduated, was broke, and I was working part-time somewhere. But yeah, it was just to pass the time and make some money. And then my girlfriend, she actually referred me to an agency in Amsterdam. And I worked there. I applied there. I started to work there for 2.5 years. And actually, when I worked there, before that, I was thinking about starting maybe like a drop shipping store or e-com or something like that. And so when I was at that agency, I always had in the back of my mind, like, okay, I want to learn as much as I can in as short time frame as possible, so that I can then quit and apply everything that I've learned to my own e-com store. Now, I didn't actually this is a story for another podcast, but I didn't want to, after a while, didn't want to run my own e-com store anymore, but I did build up the skills to go and freelance. So 2.5 years later, I quit. And then I started to freelance, and then I did that for about 2+ years before I started PPC Mastery. So as you can see, this whole process was all designed by intention, because when I started my freelance business, that's when I felt like really free. I can finally do what I want. My income went up like 4 or 5x. I could choose my own clients. I can design my own day. In the beginning, I was working 60 hours per week. Definitely not saying that's cool or anything, but it was just what I wanted to do at that time. And now, a couple of years later, I'm much more relaxed in my work week, and I have more focus and all those things. But that really helped me reach the sort of financial freedom phase. I'm not saying that I'm rich beyond means or that I'm, financially independent, retire early. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I do have enough to sustain myself right now and just make decisions not necessarily only based on money. So now I have the freedom to have an empty calendar. I have the freedom to work abroad. I've worked in Dubai for a bit, in Miami. I went to Spain with my girlfriend for a couple months, South Africa. So yeah, everything is really coming together, and I have to be really grateful for the lifestyle that we can live right now. We're in the Netherlands looking to buy a house. So that's one of our short-term goals, but I definitely always want to continue to keep traveling and building that lifestyle of just doing whatever we want to. So to take it back to your question, Bernt, of what I want to achieve and what are the goals that I'm working towards. Like, of course, we have goals with PPC Mastery, and I can talk about that for a sec, but sometimes I have to stop myself and think like, okay, I'm actually where I want to be right now. So every other goal that I set is just bonus, because I also have to push the brake sometimes a bit in terms of what I'm doing and what we can do, because the ultimate goal is just to have an empty calendar, because from an empty calendar I can do my best work. can decide how my day is going to look like. I can decide, I have the best focus to create really good content, to create newsletters, etc., etc., etc. So the biggest goal is already achieved. Like, I know that if I continue to do this for the upcoming years, then everything is going to be sorted. Financially, I'm going to be good. Time and travel freedom is already good. So I'm really happy where I am right now. But if I have to put some goals on paper right now for PPC Mastery that I can talk about, that is just, on one hand, I have goals with my personal clients that I'm working with. So that's a handful of clients, ecom clients, to build up case studies and learnings that I can then share with you guys through PPC Mastery. And then in PPC Mastery, I am working on building something that's bigger than myself, doing the things I love doing most, which is mostly the marketing side. So content, website, email, etc., all those things. And apart from that, I just want to live a nice life with nice people, work out, eat healthy, make some money, all these things. And as a natural effect of just focusing on doing the tasks that I'm supposed to be doing, then the results are going to come. So when I was younger, I would set like really outrageous goals, like, okay, in 2 years, I want to make 1 million euros or whatever it was. But those goals were always really random because I didn't backtrack them in terms of, okay, if I want that, then what do I actually have to do to achieve them? And and so now when I set my goals, I'm much more realistic. I don't set monetary goals. I don't set any basically output-based goals, but I set input-based goals. And this is something that I think I learned from Dickie Bush, that he primed me on with some pieces of his content. Like, if you do the things that you need to be doing, then the results are going to come inevitably. If you go to the gym every day, are you going to lose weight or are you going to get in shape? Yes or no? Most likely yes. Especially if you combine that with eating healthy, then the results are going to come. You just have to continue to do it over a long enough time frame for the results to show. But the problem is most people quit before they can actually see the results. So for me, I know that if I just continue to create high value content, if we continue to create courses with PPC Mastery, if I continue to go to the gym, if I continue to spend time and invest in my personal relationships, then everything is going to take care of itself. So I don't have like a really big, fat, hairy goal of like, okay, you want 10 million in the next 2 years. We'll see what happens in terms of the actual result. But if I focus on the input, what I can do in my day to day, then I know for a fact that the results are going to take care of themselves. So yeah, hopefully this helped you in getting a bit of the mental framework that I use to set my own goals, and understand that I used to be really outrageous, like I said, with my goals, like random goals and sometimes even too big of a goals that could even be a source of stress for myself. So now I just don't focus on the goals as much anymore, but I focus on what I need to be doing every single day to continue to live the life or upgrade my life to the point where I want it to be. But it's always good to sometimes take a step back and reflect on, where am I now? Is it actually, pretty good life? Yes, it's a good life. So I'm not as hard on myself as I was a couple years ago. So just know, for me, it's been a really long journey to get here with PPC Mastery. I did a lot of things, had a lot of failed side hustles, a lot of learnings. And it's as long as you continue and as long as you keep going, the results are going to come, whatever those results are for you. And you can do anything that you set your mind to, as long as you have a solid plan and are willing to take action every single day until you give yourself enough time to just even be able to see the results, because most people, they quit too soon. So that's it. Thanks for the question, Bernt. And to everybody else listening, thank you for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Please share this episode with someone that might find this valuable, if you found it valuable. And if you have a question for me, please drop it at ppcmastery.com/podcast, and I might just answer it in one of the next episodes. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.